Hi, I'm Lizzie,
And I'm Brenda.
and welcome back to
Small Step Society.
This is episode 6, Self Love, Part 2, Practicing Self Love.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Small Step Society.
Small Step Society who?
Small Step Society is back with another episode.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
We're excited to
And
start talking about the part 2 of our mini-series.
Yeah. But before we get into that,
Mm-hmm.
our weekly segment, Song of the Moment.
Brenda, what's your song of the moment?
It's Shot in the Dark by John Mayer off his 2021 album. I don't remember what it's
Oh.
called, but some good songs. I give the album 2 thumbs up.
Nice.
What's your song of the moment?
Mine's Candyman
Mm.
by Zed and Aloe Black.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we listened to it for the first time,
Last year.
yes, at a acapella concert, and it was so great.
Yeah, and every time we listen to that song, we can picture the guy from the acapella. It was singing it. It was so good.
Yeah. Can I tell you about my most recent purchase?
Yeah.
It's called a habit tracker,
Mm-hmm.
and I wrote down things like check my subscription, my bank account, drink water, stretch.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a sure example of practicing mindfulness.
it's the little things, right? The little
Yeah.
things matter.
Mm-hmm. And then they lead to self-love.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Today's episode?
Self-love?
Oh my god, let's get into it.
Oh my goodness.
So if you recall, last week at the end of the episode, we asked you to wonder about what self-love means to you and really think about the definition. So I'll ask you, Lizzie, what does self-love mean to you?
Self-love to me means prioritizing myself, whether it's my physical needs, my emotional needs.
I agree with that, obviously. But, like, to add on, I think self-love means, yeah, like, prioritizing, but also, like, trying to find that good balance and always, practicing introspection, which we always talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and really evaluating what your values are, what
Yes.
makes you happy, what's important to you.
And I think along with that is like being true to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
like standing firm in what you believe, what you
Yeah.
want, which goes along with boundaries that
Mhm.
you talked about.
And, like, just going back to our first few episodes,
Mm-hmm.
finding people that make you happy, that's important.
Yes.
Yeah, just surrounding yourself with things that bring good things into your life. They
Mhm.
don't diminish your happiness.
Right. Allowing you to feel the things that you need to in that moment.
Yeah.
Those are really good definitions for meanings of self-love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but self-love is important because it leads to better happiness, self-acceptance, self-esteem, self-awareness, self-forgiveness.
Hmm.
All of these self-serving things that are really important for you to just be content with your life.
Generally, self-love means accepting yourself as you and everything that makes you you in this moment. It means accepting your emotions for what they are and putting your mental, physical, and emotional well-being first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just all about prioritization of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But there are 6 foundations to self-love. So we can just go over those.
Yeah.
So the first one is inner voice. So changing the way you talk to yourself. Making sure that you have a positive mindset, positive attitude, having positive affirmations. So a really good example of this is when you make a mistake or you don't do as well as you wanted in something, giving yourself grace. So instead of beating yourself up in your head, like saying you are a failure, why are you not good at this? Instead, turning that around and saying you tried your best and next time you'll do better. Or maybe you didn't try your best. Maybe you failed to give something the effort that it deserves, and that's why you didn't do as well as you hoped. But instead of like turning that into a really negative thing, saying you didn't try as much as you should have, but now now you've learned from your mistakes. Next time you won't make this
Mm-hmm.
mistake.
I think self-forgiveness goes along with that. And when I say self-forgiveness, it doesn't mean that you're condoning your behavior, but it means you let yourself feel like the guilt or whatever you're feeling in the moment and letting yourself like move on from it rather than pounding it down like you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, that's why like moderation and finding that healthy balance is so important, because you want to you know, sit in those feelings for sometimes that you really feel it, but you also want to move on and
Right.
show yourself grace, show yourself that you're going to get better from your mistakes or whatever experience that you're feeling.
Exactly.
Additionally, I think with inner voice, it also comes like letting go of grudges, because when you have a grudge, and I think we probably mentioned this in some other episode with friendship communication, but you want to let go of grudges because they're not self-serving. I mean, usually a grudge, like if you're holding a grudge, it's because the other person hasn't changed, or you're not able to like accept that they've changed. So that's not going to help them, because if they haven't changed, they're not going to change. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So you might as well let go of that negative feeling in your own self, because it doesn't matter who the negative feeling is directed towards. It's still like a voice that you don't need to have in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think a good way to think about this is, okay, so there are studies, which this is kind of just like a fact that I know, I guess, so I don't have any specifics, but there are studies like if you're exposed to the color blue, you feel sadder, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And blue isn't acting upon you. It's just,
Mm.
you're just in that environment, you know what I mean? So in the same way, your brain is just in that environment of that grudge or that negative feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's not directed towards you, it's still like getting those negative vibes, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
And so it's bad for you.
Another pillar of self-love is self-discovery. So learning what makes you happy, learning what you like doing, developing goals, hobbies, interests, those little things.
Yeah. Another one, a big one, is mental health. So focusing on combating stress, learning healthy coping mechanisms. So what's a good example of this? I never feel stress or anxiety, so I would not know.
I think a good coping mechanism that a lot of people try to implement is you step away from the situation and like take a walk or get your mind off of it. So like, for instance, if it's homework or exam studying and you're really frustrated, you just kind of like say, okay, I'm gonna close the book, I'm gonna close my computer, I'm gonna go on a walk, maybe refresh my mind, and then come back. So
Mhm.
then you don't build up on your frustration, rather you let it go for a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, that's really good. And then another thing, I guess more in the context of like social settings, if you feel anxious in a situation with other people, you know, taking a step back, practicing self-love, realizing this is not good for my mental health, and like saying, hey, I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
Like go outside, go take a walk, go get some water. Just really evaluating what's going on up there.
Mm-hmm. Which is very hard in social situations.
Oh, it's so hard.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we talked about this last week in our episode, but self-acceptance is also a big part of self-love. I think self-acceptance and self-love are very similar, maybe even the same thing, because you're accepting yourself for who you are, all the good parts, all the bad parts, and you love yourself for it. And
Yeah. It's kind of like that self-forgiveness
Mm-hmm.
we talked about. Yeah, giving yourself grace.
Yes.
Said it so many times. But there's also boundaries. That's a huge pillar, foundation of self-love. So cultivating healthy communication strategies, which see episode 3,
Mm-hmm.
or also just boundaries in general,
Mhm.
episode 2. So, you know, we've been leading up to this one.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you have all the tools, or at least some of the tools in your toolbox to start practicing self-love. But, you know, generally speaking, to stop plugging our podcast, boundaries are really important, because you don't want people to overstep on your self-love. Because it's really easy for other people to degrade your self-love and degrade your own perception of yourself. So if someone's overstepping or someone's being not nice to you, you should let it go.
And also let them know.
True.
And I think the last one is the one that is very common, very casual, which is self-care. We all need self-care. We all need time to tend to our needs, whether it be emotional, physical, mental. So saving some time for your hobbies and your interests. Maybe go and working out
Yeah.
to de-stress.
Yeah, and I think that goes hand in hand with the self-discovery pillar that we talked about
Mhm.
before, because once you figure out what you like to do, you
Mm-hmm.
can practice it in your self-care time.
Yes, exactly.
I know a lot of people like to have Sundays or like Saturdays for that, where they
Mhm.
like take an hour to themselves, maybe take a relaxing bath,
Mm-hmm.
or go outside nature, go to the gym, maybe be creative, do some music, do some dance. I don't
Yeah.
know. Just anything, really. Whatever works for you, whatever you like.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe let's dive more into self-compassion. So self-compassion, I actually found this definition from Dr. Kristen Neff. So there's kind of, how we talked about the foundations of self-love. There's three kind of, I guess, parts or components of self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is self-kindness, feeling kindness towards ourselves rather than feeling judgment, criticism, or shame.
Mm-hmm.
So, talk to yourself like you would do to a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually a funny example of this, we were just talking about this, is I tend to get the giggles so much when we're filming. And Lizzie, like, sometimes she'll just, like, zone out in the middle of a sentence.
So true.
But when I look at, like, when I'm talking to Lizzie, like, I'm never like, oh my God, can you just, like, get it together and be better? But I feel like when I'm giggling, I keep telling myself that. So instead, I should just, let it go. Because also, I think a good thing to point out with this is stress is such a huge factor in, like, not doing well in something. Or stress predicts lower performance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're judging yourself, that's going to cause stress to yourself. And that just makes it so much worse. So just don't.
A vicious cycle, maybe.
True. That is a big part of this little mini series.
Yeah.
But another one is common humanity. So this one's a little less intuitive, but recognizing that we are a part of a common humanity. We're all human. Everyone makes mistakes, rather than maybe seeing ourselves as isolated people who are just unworthy of love and belonging. I feel like I hear this a lot, like, on, like, social media or, I don't know, whatever, like, popular culture, where people are like, maybe I'm just not worthy of love. But who was I listening to yesterday? I don't know. But I was listening to some podcast, actually, and they were talking about how if you don't, okay, how do I put this? You know the saying, like, you can't love someone until you love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true, because, how do I say? Okay, so.
Can I
Yeah.
quick intervene? So this is a quote from a book called Perks of Being a Wallflower, and it says, you accept the love you think you deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't love yourself first, then you can't accept the love that other people are giving you, and you feel like you're not worthy of love.
Yeah, exactly.
But it all kind of stems from your own love of yourself.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to go along with that, definitely true. Okay, this is kind of a really complicated thing to explain, so I'll do my best. Maybe there'll be a diagram up in the video. But okay, so at least for me, and I'm sure other people, when I don't love myself, I will try to act in a way, like in social situations, that's more serving other people. So I'll just act really inauthentically, and I think people can pick up on that. But also with that, because I'm acting inauthentically, if people love me, I don't really perceive them as loving me, because I'm like, why aren't you loving me for myself? But I'm not putting my true self out there. So of course they're not going to love me for myself, because they don't know what that is.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it kind of becomes a cycle again.
Yeah. All of these are, like, it's such a hard thing to break out of, and it's so hard to get to the point where you love yourself, because everything's just so interrelated and a cycle.
Right. But bottom line is, I think once you acknowledge that we're all humans, that we all make mistakes, and you're not the only one, I think that kind of helps with self-acceptance, self-love, because you belong to humans, and our nature is that we will make mistakes.
Yeah.
We will hurt people. So.
Yeah. And I think, okay, this kind of goes a little outside of the self-compassion and more related to having negative feelings towards others and how that impacts you. But I see this a lot, where people are like, you need to forgive your parents. I mean, obviously with, there are certain extremes that this doesn't apply to, but generally speaking, like, you need to also show your parents some grace, because this is the first time they're a parent in their life. Like, they've never experienced life before either. But I think that's, like, really, it's a resounding statement, because it, like, you don't really think about it, like, they're also humans, they're experiencing life. But if you kind of let go of that bitterness a little and say, okay, like, they're making this mistake because they don't understand, because they've never felt that way, because they're also human. you let go of that negative feeling, and you also feel a little more peace in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's also just related to common humanity. We're all human.
Mm-hmm.
But back from that little tangent, the last, I guess, component of self-compassion's definition is mindfulness. So viewing mistakes mindfully by having a perspective and not over-identifying with their failings. So like how we talked about before, like when you fail, you know, maybe obviously like think about your actions and think about what happened. You know, don't just like completely forgive yourself, but also don't like ruminate and just keep thinking about why you failed and why everything went bad, and like making this whole, you know, this whole like like a flow chart, like where you're like this caused this and this caused this and it's all my fault.
Yeah. Take responsibility, but also give permission to yourself to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Along with mindfulness, I think being mindful and living in the present is really good with self-acceptance, because we cannot control life.
Yeah.
Like any of the circumstances, anything that we come in contact with, but we can choose to focus on the things that are going well and the little things. It could be, my hair looks good today, or the birds chirping sounds really nice today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a funny little saying that I've heard is the present is a present.
Oh,
I mean, like it's a little gift.
yeah.
Like you're never
It's
gonna,
true.
yeah, if you're so busy living in the past, you're never gonna get to experience the moment as it is and and take it in for what it is.
Yeah.
And sorry.
Oh, and if you like rush through this present to get to the future so quickly, then you miss out on the gift that is
Yeah,
the present.
exactly. Actually, I think a funny example of this is like senior year of high school. I feel like I was just in a really bad mental state, like with college apps and everything. But looking back on senior year, I only like remember the good. You know what I mean? I only remember the good. And it's so funny how time just changes your perspective on things. And my point being, yeah, like you're never gonna, if you don't experience the moment in the moment, you'll not get to see what it truly is, because you'll look back on it with a different lens that maybe just isn't correct. I mean, in this case, I guess it's a good one, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. This kind of goes back with the habit tracker thing, because it really lets me focus on the things I can't control, like stretching, drinking water, having time for myself. And I think making room for healthy habits or things that you get done because you want to for yourself, not because you have to. You know? I think that's good too.
Yeah, a lot of anxiety stems from not feeling like you have control over something, which obviously impacts the way you perceive yourself and self-love. So that's a really good point. Like focusing on the things that you can control, because it gives you a little peace of mind. You think that you, I guess, like are independent, like you really have your life together.
Yes.
It's good. So good.
It is very good.
And I think it also just keeps you more mindful, because you're able to prioritize what really matters and focus on it.
So again, since we are on this more specific topic on self-acceptance, and we kind of covered this last week, but I think acknowledging and loving your abilities also really help. So it could be like that you're a really great pigs in a blanket maker. I don't know,
So
maybe you're a hard worker. You have the most listening ear. Is that how it
Like people look to you for advice, or look to you to just rant.
Yeah, or like people always turn to you for a listening ear. I don't know, these are all great things.
Yeah.
So like however big or small your abilities are, they should all be celebrated.
Yeah, that's really important. Oh my gosh, I could talk about the problems of society all day. But I will say, something that's really annoying to me is like when people I guess have a ranking of, okay, let's put it in the context of academic accomplishments. There was this one person who tells me like they know it's bad, but like they just view people who are really good at math as smarter than people who are like good at social studies or something, which is just so messed up, because they're completely different parts of the brain. And it hurts me to see, honestly. And I mean, I think I've dealt with this too. Like I've talked about it, where because I'm a psychology major now. I'm not like in the natural sciences, like the hard. Well, I kind of like I'm not in the hard sciences. You know what I mean? Like I'm not in chemistry or biology. Suddenly it seems like I'm wasting my talent or I'm not as smart as other people. But I'm like, no, like that takes a different part of the brain that you know, that's why like engineering students, like they're known for not being as good as writing because they're not practicing that part of the brain. And so they're both like equally important skills. Sorry, didn't mean to defend myself so harshly, but no, but you know what I mean? Like just generally speaking, like just because society says that something is maybe a more valued skill or it's a better ability doesn't mean it actually is. Society's just wrong usually.
I agree, because I think in society, like STEM majors tend to get compensated more versus non-STEM majors.
Or like with education salary, oh my. Like they're so important. Teachers are so important. Not everyone can put up with a bunch of whiny kids who don't know how to wash their hands and stuff.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like numbers, we've already talked about this so many times, but like just because a number is associated with something doesn't mean that you should just only listen to the number and think that defines your value, because it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And
true.
if you ever want me to affirm what you're doing in life, just send me a little DM on Instagram. I'll be like, I'll tell you why it's good. I promise. So many. Anyway. Yeah. Oh, another example, sorry, in terms of milestones is I've seen this more recently, like where people are like, why are my like grandparents only sending me like money or sending me congratulations for getting married? Like I didn't get any of this. Like I want to throw a party. I don't want them to keep asking about when I'm going to get married. I want to throw a party for getting my bachelor's or getting my master's. And yeah, I love that, you know, society is beginning to value these things more and celebrate any kind of milestone, whatever it is. It's all like, I feel like high school graduation is celebrated more than a master's, where I'm like, guys, come on. Like no matter what stage you are in life, that is so amazing that you're able to complete something that you set your mind to.
It's very true. And I think it's also important to write the little and the big accomplishments down, because there are days where you feel like you're not as worthy, where you feel like you're just feeling a little down. You can always refer back to it and go, wow, look at all the things that I've accomplished.
Yeah. In high school, I actually used to, like your habit tracker, I used to keep a mood tracker where, because I felt like, I don't know, the way my mind works, like I would always feel like I was sad like every single day. And then I started keeping a mood tracker, and I'd go back and look at the month and be like, oh my God, I only had like a few bad days. But the way your mind works, you like catastrophize everything.
I think also with celebrating your accomplishments, you should also gain perspective on your limitations, but not in the bad way. So, for example, let's say you're not great with kids. Instead of looking at it in that perspective, you can say, wow, I connect well with older individuals or like elderly who need more help and like who feel lonely in this world. So maybe you can practice that by visiting your grandparents or volunteering at a nursing home. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I keep giving personal examples this episode. Maybe I need to practice self-love. No, but a huge thing like related to society for me is I feel like I don't know, my whole life I feel like I've just never, this is gonna sound like so pretentious, I feel like, but like I feel like I've never really been, okay, relationships with people my age, like friendships and stuff, has never come as easily to me as like friendships with older people. So having an internship has just been really fun for me. Because I'm like, oh, I'm really good at forming friendships with people who are maybe older. And so focusing on that just makes me happy, because I'm like, okay, one day I will be that age, and I will connect with people who are my age.
Right. Yeah. So like when we say gain perspective on your limitations, it means spin it and look at it in a positive way.
Yeah. It builds your confidence so much. It's so good for your self-esteem. So good.
Yes.
2 thumbs up. In addition to the reevaluation, so like with that mood tracker, with gaining perspective comes other, I guess, examples of that. So journaling, meditation, gratitude journals are a huge thing. I feel like it's becoming more popular. I think it's so funny that people only do that on Thanksgiving. Well, they'll be like, I'm thankful for this. It's like, no, do that every single day of the year. Honestly. Yeah, what else? What are other?
I think personally, I like to walk and like look around because campus is so beautiful this
Mhm.
time of year with the sun and the clear skies.
Yeah.
And I think I took like 4 pictures already on my way from the chem building to the kinesiology building,
Mhm.
which is like a 30-second walk.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, it is so gorgeous outside.
My photos filled in fall. Oh my.
Yeah, it makes me so happy. I was like, oh, so pretty.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, spending time with nature, that's a huge one. I think we all hear about this.
mhm,
Speaking to yourself as a friend, giving yourself a compliment. You know, like how you said, my hair looks good today.
mhm.
Thanks. I know it does. Just kidding. Celebrating those small victories.
Mhm.
Sometimes getting out of bed in the morning is an accomplishment because
So true.
if you feel bad in the beginning of the day, maybe by the end of the day you won't.
Especially because it's getting colder and I think it's harder to wake up.
We were talking about daylight savings today. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And giving yourself a compliment is good, but also accept it and believe in the compliment. You deserve the compliment. You're doing great.
People aren't complimenting you because they just want to say something in the world. They're saying it because they mean it.
Mm-hmm.
So accept it. They're right. I feel like it's so much harder for, I don't know, humans. People find it so much harder to put positivity in the world than negativity. You know? Society just like is like, why are you being so sentimental? Or like, why are you being, yeah, but so if someone's giving you positivity, if someone's giving you a compliment, they definitely mean it. Negativity on the other hand, that's so easy for people to do, so they're probably not right. But with negativity, positivity comes social media.
Oh, yes.
If you feel like social media is not good for your mental health, take a step back. Delete the app. Oh, someone can't text you on social media? Have you seen that thing where it's like, if they don't have my phone number and I delete my social media, that means we're just not friends. So don't try to find my phone number. We're not friends.
Oh, I have not seen that. I thought you were going to say if they wanted to, they would.
That also. But you know, if someone's only texting you on social media, you don't owe them anything. Delete the app. Don't be like, but I need to text them. No. Well, it's for school. But then give them your phone number. little tip for me. So in relation to like the meditation and all these techniques, I found this technique. So I got the information for this mainly from Healthwise via this website called Kaiser Permanente. But it's called emotional freedom technique. So this is a method that some people use to manage emotions and troubling thoughts. So really good for lowering stress and anxiety. So you know, like acupuncture. So it's kind of similar to that, but it's non-invasive. Like you can just do it to yourself. So basically, we can practice it right now. Okay, so this technique has people tap on these things called meridian endpoints of the body, but these include like the top of your head, eyebrows. Why am I only doing this?
You want me to do it with
Yeah.
you?
Under your eyes, side of your eyes, chin, collarbone, and under the arms. But while you tap, you recite specific phrases that target some emotional component of a physical symptom. For example, like when you're tapping the top of your head, think, I am worthy. I am intellectual, because, you know, like it's related to your head. Or if you're tapping your like arms, saying, what do you say? Like,
I'm
I am
strong.
strong. Yeah. I can do this. I give good hugs. I am epic. So just a disclaimer, experts don't agree on how well EFT works, emotional freedom technique works. So if you're experiencing serious issues like depression and trauma, don't like replace seeing a health professional with this. But if you're experiencing, you know, stress one day, or if meditation maybe doesn't work for you because you just aren't able to reach that like Zen state, maybe try this. Especially like before you go to sleep, calm yourself down, or in the morning. Maybe do it in the shower. I don't know. That's up to you.
Before you go about your week, we would just like to say,
Give you some affirmations.
yes, this is from The Help, the book, and the movie, but the book. you is kind, you is smart, and you is important.
Mhm.
So please remember that, and you deserve all the compliments and all the love.
Yeah. And if you feel like you're not able to practice self-love, ask your friends for a compliment, honestly. Aw. Maybe like every week, if you live with roommates, you can have a little like compliment circle.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
We're going to start implementing Pow Wow Chow Gao.
Let's go.
Give out words of compliment.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's good.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, just if you feel down someday, just ask someone.
We love you, and we're so glad that you're here in this world with us.
Oh,
So-
you mean we love you, you love me. We're a small step society with a great big hug and a kiss from you to me. No, me to you. Won't you say you love yourself too?
Yay!
Anyway, we'll see you next Sunday. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else you can find podcasts except where you can't.
And
Video version.
YouTube.
Yeah, video version on YouTube to see our loving faces. And with that,
We'll see you next week.
bye.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap